Welcome to the Writing Community Chat Show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday's Writing Community Chat Show. We're very excited to be here today, as always. It's never a chore. It's always a pleasure. And I'm Chris. I left Chris, as you may know, and here's Chris Hooley. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm great, and there was a lot of usage of the word Chris in the intro of that show.
But as many Chris's as you can get in there. Chris.
Chris. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I hope you're well, and I've got to say I'm feeling a lot more myself after my head injury, and that's a good thing. Although I was never so normal in the first place, I'm feeling a little more normal. It's great to see people on the chat. Joe Paulson, hello darlings, or hola darlings, and Anya, hello guys. Linda, hello to you. It's great to see you. I hope you are having a great week, and we've got a fantastic guest lined up, and there's a lot of exciting things happening on this show at the moment. All will be revealed throughout the next few weeks. Secrets. Yes. Yay, Chris. Thank goodness. Yes, thank you. So, Chris, there's a few things we need to mention. Obviously, being the start of the show, we have our book token promotion, as you know. And that is something that we allow you guys to support the show by promoting your books. And that allows the show to keep going by, being able to support ourselves. So we have finally had a little sponsor for this a few weeks ago. Now we've had another sponsor for this part of the show, which is fantastic. And finally, we got a beer sponsor. And as you guys know, we've been asking for one of those for quite some time. and that is the Bison Beer Token book promotion. So Bison Beer is a wonderful looking place down in Brighton on the south coast of England. They have a brilliant looking bar and a beach bar, which one day we hope to frequent. But they have sponsored us with these amazing Bison Beer Seaside IPAs, which is a pale ale. And behind the monkey there, you'll see Lionel Richie on the front of that can. So thank you guys so much for supporting the show. Hopefully we can keep working together. Definitely a fan of your ale, so thank you for that. Yeah. So today's book that we're sponsoring through the Bison Beer Token book token beer promotion is The Pineys. It is The Pineys, and it's a novella series of 6 books, and it's called My Cousin the Piney. By Tony DiGirolamo. And it is, Chris? It's on the bottom.
I'll wait for it to come round again.
DiGirolamo. Anyway, so he's got 8 reviews, and it's 4.2 out of 5, and it's a horror comedy. Someone said very entertaining. It's available as Kindle and paperback, and it's one of 6. So I will drop the links for that in the description, and I'll leave the blurb in the description as well, because there's a series of 6, so I don't want to just read out the first one. I want to leave the blurb for the series down there, and I'll leave that in the description. So please do check that out and support the authors that support the show, and I will pop the book cover up in that top corner right now so you can see that. And there it is. Fantastic looking cover. Thanks for supporting the show.
Nice.
Yes. Bison Beer. What a great fit for the beer token, right? It is indeed Bison Beer Token book promotion. It kind of does fit.
I love how the name's almost subliminal. Bison Beer. If you say it quick enough, it sounds like Bison Beer.
Yeah, Linda says, is the beer made with real bison? I don't think so. It has one on the
Definitely
front.
A question that we could ask them.
Yeah, we must chat to them. Okay, so let's get on with tonight's show because I'm very excited and I really want to get into this story. It sounds absolutely brilliant and right up my street. So tonight's guest, Chris, you looking forward to this?
Yeah, I can't wait. We've heard great things about this book from, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, it was either Kristen Bailey or Sarah Pinborough. It was definitely one of them that said this was one of the best books they've read recently. So you'd have to go back and scroll back through the shows and see which one said it exactly, but definitely high praise for this book from previous guests. So we cannot wait to get her on the show.
The reviews are fantastic too. Yeah, definitely. So tonight's guest is the producer of a low-budget British horror film, Heretic, which sounds awesome. Produced the entire movie for less than 18k and secured a cinema and DVD release, earning the movie the number 3 top spot in DVD charts, which is outstanding. She's been a florist, a karaoke bar singer, a pork pie maker, a barman, a jeweler, a fruit and veg seller, a librarian, and a season as an elf, which is fantastic. Her debut novel has been published by Hodder and Stoughton and is called this year's most original and unforgettable debut. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Bethany Clift. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
That's quite the introduction you've just given me there. Thank you.
I hope you're all well, and thank you so much for joining us on the show tonight. We're very excited.
Thank you for having me.
Everything good? How's Bethany?
I'm good, thanks. I don't think anybody can complain at the moment, can they, with the weather like this?
Well, in Wales it was raining today, so I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, well, yeah, but you've got a beer sponsor, so...
That is true, and that makes the rain go away. So thank you.
It really does.
Yeah. So Bethany, it's great to have you on the show, and you know, it's a real joy to have different authors come on and tell us their stories, and we love that about the show, and we really like getting into the depth of where writing came from in their lives, and for you, obviously, there's been a history there of different jobs and life experience leading up to this. So let us know.
The being an elf was not a huge help in my writing career. I will be totally honest, but you know,
I'm sure we'll get into that shortly.
Yes. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, let us know, where did writing come from in your life, and why was that an inspiration to write the story that you've written?
So I think I've always written. I've written from a very young age. I did a lot of screenwriting when I was younger. I actually went to the Northern Film School and did a screenwriting course there. And up until Last One at the Party, I was writing film and TV scripts. But then when I had the idea for the novel, it didn't work in any other format. It worked as a novel, and that's why it was written as a novel. And I think that kind of, you know, a lot of people have said it comes across in the book that I do have a background in kind of screenwriting and in writing for the screen. So, you know, that's definitely something I think that's influenced my writing going forward.
Fantastic. I mean, you know, it's a shame that the elf hasn't played a part in your writing. I mean, maybe it's a horror down the line. I'm not sure. So first thing to note,
it was the way I played it.
Yeah. First thing to note then is that your movie that you created and this story is all got horror elements, and there must be a sort of a fan of horror in there somewhere. Bethany, where's that come from?
Do you know, it's really interesting because I if you asked me what the genres that I was the biggest fan of, horror would not be the first thing I would say at all. And I feel, and again, Last One at the Party has come out and everybody's like, oh my God, it's like dark and horrific and there's all these scenes and there's so much feces in it. And like, I'm just kind of like, really? Is that my novel? And I remember kind of getting my first 20 or 30 reviews, and they all did say there's so much feces in. And I had to go back and read my own novel and think, did I put loads of shit in my book? I don't remember.
Is this a euphemism? What are they saying?
No, they're actually right. There is just nothing but human and animal and excrement everywhere. No, but I think obviously the kind of, you know, the story lends itself to horror elements, and it's always going to. But if you asked me the genre of my novel, it's funny. I did an article about this the other day, and I would not say horror. It just wouldn't be how I would describe it. So it's really interesting that that's the way that a lot of people have received it.
Have you was there friends and family that read this and were completely surprised at what you wrote?
I think the hardest thing for friends and family is obviously it's narrated by a lone woman, an unnamed lone woman, and obviously they read it in my voice, and there's some parts in there that you do not want your mum or your dad or indeed anyone you're even slightly related to or know to be reading in your voice.
So let the audience know then, before we dig into the story, and I'm very excited about the sound of this, and let the audience know what this is about, so they can understand a bit more when we get into these characters, like you just suggested.
So Last One at the Party is about a lone woman who, as far as she is aware, is the last survivor of humanity. There has been a global pandemic and it has wiped out the rest of the world in just over a month. So it's obviously not based on COVID and was written before that was even in the news. But unlike many other novels, she is not the best suited to be the last person alive. Out of the 7.5 billion people that live in the world, she's probably one of the least suited, in that she has always relied on other people for her health, for her mental health, for her well-being in every single way. So when she's left on her own, she does not cope well to begin with, and then she does not cope particularly well in the middle, and then at the end she kind of doesn't cope that well, but she's there. So it's basically about where and how, and most importantly why she survives, and what it is that gives us hope as human beings when everything that we know and love has basically gone. So there you go. It's cheerier than you think.
No, I don't need cheery. That sounds brilliant. I mean, you put a completely you flipped the whole man and the dog scenario, haven't you? I mean,
yes.
there's so many depictions of that, and this is a kind of a horror version with a lot of comedy elements thrown in, from what I've read in the reviews.
Yeah. So what I really wanted to do as well was I wanted to have someone who wasn't a scientist or a survivalist or Bear Grylls, or I wanted someone like you or me or my next door neighbour, and how would we actually react in these situations? You're not going to go and try and find a cure. You're going to go out, you're going to get drunk, you're probably going to hunt down some drugs, and you're going to hole up in a nice hotel room. I mean, I've had reviews from people who have said, no, that's not what I do, and I think, well, good on you, because I don't think I'd react much differently. But I also wanted something as well where she really is the only survivor, because I love apocalypse stories. I love like the machinations of survival in a world where you're on your own and you're against everything else, and everything's changing so fast, and everything has gone. And then I find the bits where they kind of meet other people are the bits where I kind of don't lose my interest, but the bits where it becomes a little bit more expected sometimes. So I just thought it'd be really interesting if she never did find that survival group, or does she find that survival group? And am I, teasing? I'm terrible for spoilers, by the way. I must, if it's out. You won't know, but if it sounds like I'm going to give a spoiler,
just switch up. I don't know.
Just cut the screen to black.
I don't know.
So Bethany, I'm really interested in terms of, obviously you had the initial idea and you talked about the fact that it only worked as a novel. Did you try it in other formats first, or was that something that you started out as a novel and was like, I've got to stick to this because it's not working? So
I came up with the idea for Last One at the Party when I was coming home from the works. I'd been working in Oxford and I was driving through the countryside and I got lost and my mobile phone wasn't working. I couldn't see any signs. It was the middle of winter. I was absolutely knackered, and I got out of the car to have a little weep and just feel sorry for myself and pull over and just kind of pull myself together. And I got out of the car, and it was a really clear night. It was one of those beautiful crisp nights that you get kind of every now and again when the rain stops in the UK. And I couldn't see anything, and I couldn't hear anything. There were no cars, no planes, no people, nothing. There was a bunch of cows in the next door field chewing really noisily and like adding to my annoyance. And I suddenly thought, what if there was no one else? What if I was, I drove out here, I found my way to civilization, and civilization just wasn't there anymore. And it was like, you know, when you drive down a motorway and there's those brief seconds where there's no one in front of you and there's no one behind you, and you're like, I'm the king of the world. And it was like
point.
that.
Had you made that a film, it would have been the cheapest film you've ever made.
I mean, well,
the one casting member and done.
Yeah, interestingly enough, a couple of years before, I'd written, you know, when The Walking Dead did, they did their spin-off. Yeah. I thought to myself, because they've been talking about it, they hadn't done anything yet, and I thought I was going to get a job on The Walking Dead because it's well easy, isn't it? So I'd written a spec script about a woman who lived in the woods with her dog. And basically, it was about this woman who'd lived in the woods with her dog for 3 years during that whole period of The Walking Dead, and she'd never seen anyone else. And then one day she comes across a man who says he's lost. And I'm not going to tell you the rest of it because who knows who's going to watch this and may want to read my Walking Dead script. But basically, it's about her first interactions with a human being after 3 years. And when I started writing Last One at the Party, I thought, ooh. But when I kind of worked out, it just didn't work.
I think they've stolen your script because if you're up to date with The Walking Dead, I'm not joking.
No.
I'm not joking. And this isn't a spoiler because this is just one of those slow parts of the series. In the last series, when Daryl goes off looking for Rick in the woods when he gets lost, he meets a woman in the cabin with a dog. And he just meets her, and she's lived there for ages doing this whole thing. You just explained this entire episode.
Oh my good. Okay, well, in that case, I'm going to be making some phone calls. No, I mean it's. I should imagine it's incredible. It's probably very different. Has she built a moat? My woman's built a moat.
It's next to a river. I mean, it's close enough.
Right, that's it. I need a job now.
Yeah.
But having written that showed me that actually that format would not work, and it needed a wider scope, and I needed to be able to do something longer, because even if I'd made it into a film, that's 120 pages, and 120 pages it's not a huge amount of time to explore an entire world of kind of emptiness in the way that I wanted to. So
yeah, I mean, as someone who wants to write, as a new author that wants to write in a world when there's no other interaction of dialogue, how did you tackle that without thinking this is going to be way over descriptive or this is going to be boring? How did you manage to deal with it in the right way? Because
you should read some more of my reviews.
Well,
I gave her a dog. I had to give her someone to love. So she's got a dog. This is not a spoiler. She's got a dog called Lucky. And essentially kind of that he is her sounding block. But there are flashbacks as well. So there are other characters, but they only appear sporadically. But yeah, I mean, there were points where I did kind of think, oh my God, it'd be really nice if she has someone to talk to.
Yeah.
But I'd kind of set myself this thing. I set myself this idea. So again, it's not really a spoiler because who knows whether it happens or not. But after I'd been in Oxford, I wrote the first line of the novel like 2 days later, and that first line has never changed. It's always stayed exactly the same in the first line. And then halfway down the first page, I wrote that she never spoke to another living human being again. And that was kind of my mantra when I was writing, was that she would never speak to someone else again. Who knows whether she does? It's all very exciting, isn't it?
Ironically, you mentioned that it wouldn't work as a movie in such a way, but I kind of really would love to see it.
Well, you could be in luck because my TV rights have been brought.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. So Ridley Scott's company, Scott Free.
Wow.
Yes. There's a whole story around me going to their offices, geeking out, and making an absolute twat of myself. But I stand by it to this day because, my God, if you went there, anyone watching or anyone here, you would do the same. I'm sorry, you just would. But anyway, yeah. So I'm incredibly lucky because they bought the TV rights and it's in development at the moment.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So if you got a shout then at the one lady for your cast, is there someone you would love?
So I have people ask me this all the time. and I have a get out clause. Because my character, this is a bit of a spoiler, but I mean, if you read any of the reviews, you'll know this. I never name my character. She's never named, and that's on purpose because I didn't want, if I name her, then consciously or subconsciously, you attribute details, physical and kind of, you know, other details to her from people you know, or people in the press, or, you know, if I called her Kate, then it'd be like, oh, she's a bit like Kate Middleton, you know. So basically, I don't name her, and I've always refrained from saying who would play her as well, because I just feel then people will be like, oh, of course, I thought that, and I don't want people to think that. I want. You know, I've had readers who are like, oh my God, that would exactly be me. And I've had readers who are like, what a bitch, that would not be me. So, you know.
It's a great concept. It really is. I mean, it must have been a very exciting time when they optioned that, because, but as a film sort of maker yourself, do you kind of think that you'd want to put your hand in that and have an influence? Or do you think, no, do you know what? I'll leave them to it.
So I am getting to consult, which is really exciting. I'm not allowed, obviously, to talk about where we're at or what we're doing, but I am involved, which is really, really great. But I obviously know the people that they've got involved, and they are amazing. And I think, and there's also part of me that says I've lived with this for 3 years, and I as someone who does, you know, has written for TV and film, I've lived with it on the page, and it's just really nice to see what someone else brings to it, who comes to it with fresh eyes and is like, that bit is really important. Whereas to me, that bit's been a bit that I've rewritten 13 times. So I'm like, oh God, not that part where she cries and it's really emotional and everybody gets really excited, you know. Whereas someone else obviously hasn't lived through that part of it, that editing hell, so they can come along and be really excited again. And that's what's happened. So it's just amazing. It's just such a phenomenal thing to happen that, you know, there was a picture of me and Ridley Scott, not like physically together, but a photo of him and a photo of me side by side. And I've asked for that to be like when I die in my funeral wishes.
You're nearly there.
I love my husband. I mean, I love my kids, but I'm sorry, but you know, and my husband, if he were here, would stick his head in and go, "She's right, it's Ridley."
I mean, it's amazing, but like, you know, I said you're nearly there, and I didn't mean dead. I mean, you're nearly there as in picture side by side. But that'd be amazing. I mean, one question I've got off the back of all of that information is, if there's someone who's into script writing and screenwriting right now, and they've got an idea for a novel or a novella or a story, whatever that may be, what advice would you give them in that transition? Because it must be very different, and going from writing screenwriting when it's so descriptive and to the point, to then writing novels. Have you got any advice for that person?
And that's a really interesting point as well, I think, because I think, especially in a first draft, I can tend to be quite blunt, because, as you say, like this, with screenwriting, every word counts. You know, if you go over, well, unless you're Christopher Nolan, if you go over 120 pages or 90 pages if it's a comedy, then you're like, shit, you know, I've got to rein it back in. I've got to rein it. Whereas obviously with novel writing, there's a lot more you have to describe it so that the reader can see it, because they're not going to see it on screen. So I think from my experience, I would say, pick the format that works for you. If your idea is good, then, you know, someone's going to pick it up, whatever you do with it. The great thing about writing a novel or novella is you own it. But then if you write a novel or a novella and you don't like it, and that's not actually the format that you should have written in, you've got to write it again. And, you know, that's just not fun at all for anyone. So I think, as I say, I think you've got to pick whichever one is right for you and is right for that project. So I'm writing my second novel at the moment, and that's definitely a novel, but I'm also finishing off a film script, a movie script that I've done, and that would only work as a movie script because it's a horror again. I just suddenly realised it's a comedy horror. It's a black comedy, but it's definitely a horror. But it wouldn't. It's incredibly visual. It wouldn't have worked as a novel. So there you go. So I think it's the kind of, you know, it's what are you writing and how best does that fit?
What are your favourite horrors then? Because clearly there's a massive draw for you to write this, and I agree. My first two novellas, I guess, were horror based, and I tried writing something else, and I struggled. Then I went back to horror, and it was like bang, I wrote it.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing this is similar for you. I mean, what are your inspirations behind that?
Gosh, so I think so. I'm a huge Stephen King fan. Stephen King was my transition author. So he was the author that took me from Mallory Towers. This sounds a bit bad. Mallory Towers. I mean, obviously there were kind of like little novels in between. I didn't go straight from Enid Blyton to like Harry or the Stan. But especially his novellas, the one that's got the Running Man and the Long Walk in it. Have you read that?
Yeah,
they're just
Man, yeah, great.
Yeah. So you should read The Long Walk as well. It's one of the.
Was that
It's one of my favourites.
behind the Green Mile?
No, it's not. What's the inspiration? I don't know which one that is. No, so The Long Walk is essentially about it's about a long walk. It's set in a dystopian future, and basically, I think it's 300 or 100 young men under a certain age each year get chosen. I think everybody's living in poverty. Get chosen to walk, and they basically walk until they die. So if they walk less than 3 miles an hour or they stop, they're shot.
Wow.
So it's the characters are just so well drawn. It's a novella. It's not very long, but the characters are so well drawn that the horror comes from the fact that you just don't want any of them to die, and spoilers. They die basically. I mean, I'm not going to say how many of them die or what happens, but it is just constant kind of Stephen King. You know, like you're kind of turning a page and another one literally bites the dust.
I expected the song to start with there.
But yeah, so Stephen King's my transition, and then it's interesting because I like horror that comes in different forms, I think. So like Cormac McCarthy's The Road, like I'm a huge Cormac McCarthy fan anyway, and The Road is one of the most horrific novels that I've ever read. And again, would Cormac McCarthy say it's a horror? I don't know. I don't know whether he would, or whether he'd say it's a kind of social commentary or something like that. But it's definitely horrific and bleak and awful and brilliant. So I think it's that kind of wide spectrum. And then movie-wise, I mean, obviously Aliens, that kind of, Ripley was very much an inspiration when I wrote my character. She doesn't pet the dog. Do you know? I've only learned about petting the dog since I got a terrible review. Do you know about petting the dog?
Go on.
Someone wrote a terrible review for my novel, and said one of the worst things about it is that my character does not pet the dog. She is not sympathetic or empathetic, because I mean, I'd never heard this before, but apparently it's a well-known trope that within the first 10 minutes or the first 10 pages of whatever you're doing, your lead character, in order to gain the audience's trust, confidence, and empathy, should pet the dog. Like literally pet an animal, be nice to an animal, save an animal, do something for the animals. And
no way.
I can't give away any spoilers, but my character does not do that for quite a while. And then she continues to not do that. And I'd never thought that she wasn't. I'd never thought about this until the book published. I'd never thought that people would find her unsympathetic or anything like that. And I kind of had quite a bit of a problem with it to begin with. I was like, oh my God, they hate her. But then I remembered Ripley, and like it does sound like a euphemism.
I'm glad somebody else said it.
Your character literally
there's
got
not many euphemisms.
your character literally got judged because she didn't pet a dog.
There's a lot of other things that happen. In the defense of the people that have found it problematic, we're talking about someone at the end of the world, and I'm not going to give anything away, but if you imagine what happens to all the pets that people have died and they've not opened their doors to let the pets out, so but then, as I say, but then I thought about Ripley, and I thought about how in the entire in the entire lot, I mean, she has Newt, but even so, she doesn't kind of like, she rescues Newt in a kind of like motherly way. But especially in the first one, she's just who she is, and she's just like, you know.
She locks the cat in the box, which is exactly where a cat should be.
Yeah, and she leaves it. Do you know what I mean? She leaves the cat. She's like, "You're not coming with me." What she called shithead? I think she calls it shithead.
Brilliant.
You're not coming with me, shithead.
There's bigger problems in my life than looking after you, little cat. I mean, get over it. We're going to ask some staple questions in the show now, and we'll move on very shortly to the second half, where we get some questions from our amazing audience. So, very shortly, we will be asking the staple questions. So, our staple questions, we ask every guest on the show, Bethany, and we are going to ask you these same questions. So, fear not. Chris, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, so the first question, I'm kind of getting a little inkling about what you might say, but you get to use any character that you want as your own from fiction. So it can be from TV, film, or obviously novels, and you can have a crack at that character, use them in any way you like in terms of put them into a story. And so you can put them into your own story. You could create an entirely new story that's in their world. You can put them in a different world. It's entirely up to you. But which character would you pick and why?
Oh my goodness. That is a really good one. I would say Ripley, but I feel like that's a little bit obvious now if I say Ripley. So I am going to say, who do I love? I would say Offred from The Handmaid's Tale, because I feel like I love The Handmaid's Tale, and I feel that she's a character who is she's a really interesting character because of her transition from, and I'm just taking the first novel here, obviously, the actual Handmaid's Tale, because her transition from who she was to who she becomes is so beautifully yet scantily drawn that you know immediately kind of how she was in the previous world and how she's been forced to become. And I do think it would be really interesting if she then was moved back into the ordinary world to see who she then was, rather than, because I feel as much as we don't want to believe that we become indoctrined and we become changed by our situations, I just think we do. And we never normally know until we're taken out of that and we're put into a completely different situation, a different scenario. So I do think, it would be Offred.
Nice.
Great answer. Yeah. Okay, moving on. And this next question in that set of questions is, if you could take the ending, and obviously being a film director or a producer, we will open this up to TV and film as well. The ending of anything at all, and change it, whether it's good or bad or for whatever reason, what would you change the ending to and why?
This isn't going to be a bit of a cheat, because I don't know whether have you read The Mist by Stephen King?
I've not read it. I've seen this.
Have you seen the movie?
Series? Yeah.
So so the movie has a completely different ending to the book. And I loved the movie. I loved everyone who starred in it. I thought it was brilliant. And then, excuse my language, they completely fucked up the ending in like the biggest way possible. Because the ending of the book is so enigmatic and just leaves such a massive fucking question mark that people who have complained about the ending of my book can just get out of town. It's nothing. It is not. I've got a coda at the end of my book, which gives you an idea as to what happens next. At least gives you some bloody closure. There's nothing in the Mist. And I swear to you, I read that, again, it's a novella. I read that probably once every couple of years, and every time it really annoys me. And obviously what happened was when they did the adaptation for film, someone was like, no, we can't leave it like that, lads. The test audiences are going to hate it. We've got to give them a proper ending. And they totally Hollywood it up, and it just infuriates me. So I'm sorry, I think is it Frank he's the same person who did the Shawshank Redemption, I think. Sorry, I'm not looking over, I'm just, that's the way I look when I'm thinking. But
looking at Frank. Was it you, Frank?
Yeah.
'Cause you fucked it up.
You're outside my window, Frank.
There, I've got Cormac McCarthy, Ridley sitting in the corner.
Yeah, in the tea party in the garden. Sorry, guys, I've got to do
Oh
the
my
right
God.
community chat show. Just wait there. Anya says closure's important. I was still like, WTF at the end of Sopranos.
Yeah.
Newsflash, I've never watched it.
Ooh. Okay, that's at least 6 months of your life gone if you decide that you're going to. That's a big
I imagine at some stage I would. I don't know.
It's interesting, isn't it? I feel like when you write your bio somewhere, you should always put in there, these are the things that I haven't watched, so that people could just be like, what do you mean you haven't watched that?
So talking about things that you might want people to know, we're going to loosely link to the next question, and this is a bit morbid. So you're on your deathbed and you're looking back at your writing career. What would you be happy with? What is success to you at that point?
Gosh, I think I'm living my success, I have to say. So, so I had quite the misspent youth in that I didn't get a proper job until I was in my early 30s. I travelled, I kind of rented houses, I went back to live with my parents when the money ran out, my poor parents, you know. And then I worked for the NHS, which was amazing. And I wrote Last One at the Party when I was working at the NHS, not obviously at the NHS, that would have been bad, but then. And I am lucky enough to have got a 2-book deal and obviously the TV stuff, and I've sold foreign rights in about 10 countries now, I'm not sure.
Wow.
That's probably the sort of thing I should know. That makes me sound like an absolute twat. It's only because like I've had a couple in recently and I'm not sure whether they've sold or not. It's not because I'm like, well, I'm like J.K. Rowling, guys. Just
Are they
flying at
important
me,
enough to be named a country? I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean,
so I'm living it. I'm living my dream. I mean, I always wanted to be paid to write, and I'm being paid to write. I mean, it's just insane. It's like, you know, blowing my mind. And during a pandemic, I mean, it's just, you know. So I would say, this is success. This is success. It's possible. You know, it's happened. My mind is blown, and I'm incredibly happy and grateful, and forevermore will be. So yeah. And my book as well. I didn't realise this until my book was published. But a copy of my book is going to be in the British Library. I mean, that's mind blowing, isn't it? In the British the British Library is in my book, and my book is going to be in the British Library. So there's like a whole kind of like oxymoron, like crazy, yeah. It's like my version of it. That's like a little dumbed down.
Is it going to be a sequel to The Last One at the Party?
Yes. There is I think there is going to be a sequel. I'm editing my second book at the moment. I have a third book that I will be starting as soon as my edits are finished, and I hope to write the sequel next year. There you go. That's the exclusive that I haven't really said I haven't really said it out loud because I wasn't sure until this point. But I think even if no one wants it, I think I'd write it simply because I think I've got friends who will lynch me.
Do you know what, Kath Harper, thank you for your question, but I kind of jumped the gun there because that was writing community question time, which we haven't started yet. But great question anyway.
One more question.
Yeah.
We've got one more staple question, and it is a bit morbid again. These are the continued
all right, guys,
questions.
come on.
The second question that is in the morbid nature is, if you could resurrect an author that has died to collaborate with them, write your novel or screenplay or film with them on the condition that you then had to kill them, which author would you resurrect and then kill, and how would you kill them?
Do you know what? I'd choose Hunter S. Thompson because I think he'd be up for it, wouldn't he? I think he'd be like,
definitely would, yeah.
Okay, just shoot me off on a rocket, I'll be fine. So I think he'd probably kill me with the drugs. I think I'd be like,
you're trying to keep up. Like,
yeah.
I wrote a book called The Last One at the Party. Oh right, we'll see about that.
I think yeah. So we'd probably die together in the middle of some desert somewhere.
Ah.
But I bet it'd be quite the good time. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
definitely.
take him because I think he's probably quite a good time, and just like just in a terrible way that my poor mum would worry about me so much. But yeah, but then I think
brilliant.
he'd be quite happy to happily skip off on Elon Musk's rocket and see what happens.
Do you know what? I think it's been like 3 answers out of the last 4 shows. I thought no one's topped that. That's been the best answer for that question, and it's happened again. That is possibly the best answer we've had for that. It's fantastic. Okay,
Definitely.
so
It's the killing them bit that gets people. You realise that, don't you? That's the hard bit.
It reveals such a true nature because a lot of people go for the poison. That's been a general answer. We've had a hitman, which is great.
Yeah. The element of surprise, I think, is important because I think otherwise it's a bit mean.
Definitely. Okay, so let's get on to. Joanne says she has the most marvelous laugh. Honestly, lovely laugh. Oh, there it is. So what we're going to do is move on to the new family writing community family member, and because we were born from the darkness of the writing community, we give back to the people that follow the show who may need a bit of a follower boost. And what we do is we send them a GIF. So I will play the introduction to that feature, and then we will get that guest ready for a GIF. So today's before we do that, Bethany, do you know what a GIF
I'm
is?
sneaking a drink. I'm like,
Don't sneak it.
Go for it. Don't sneak it. It's fine.
Yeah,
I'm like your nan at Christmas when she doesn't want anyone to think that she's drinking.
And by the way, that is a wonderful sized gin glass. It's like a fishbowl.
Thank you. I'd like to pretend that it's because it's close to the camera, but it's really not.
Fantastic. So our new family member today is someone, Chris, we've read on the show. It's a former guest of ours, yeah, and she wrote a wonderful book, and her story about a necklace was fantastic. Don't know if you remember it, but that person is Josie Lloyd, and she came on the show, and she wrote The Cancer Ladies Running Club, which was a great book and a great interview. So if you haven't seen that, go back. And she is our latest follower. She is the author of the best-selling novel, Novels and Parodies, The Cancer Ladies Running Club, which is out in May. And she has 684 followers, so she needs a bit of a boost. And that is her, Chris. Thank you very much. So, Bethany, what GIF are we sending her through the medium of social media?
Oh God, do I have to find a GIF?
No, Chris will do it, and then the audience can do it.
So do I just give you something to look for? A word?
Yeah, anything you want us to send her. So.
I'm a fan of fluffy. If someone's like, if I don't know someone very well, I'm just kind of, trying to send them something nice. I type fluffy in, and it doesn't normally send anything terrible.
Life said, Josie, she gave me my catchphrase. What is that? Let us know. So something fluffy, Chris. What have you got?
There's this typical. It's.
Oh God, yes.
Yes.
You have to scroll down past the. That's the only thing. The Despicable Me stuff is first.
It's fluffy.
But it is fluffy.
I could send that, or I could look for something else that's a bit fluffy. Maybe a dog that she won't pet.
So,
send her the one. Can you find the one with the dog that puts its face through someone's doing that with their hands, and then it goes like it boops their hands. That's very cute.
So Bethany, when Chris is finding the dog
in hands,
your dog in hands.
Don't know if that works, to be honest.
Another euphemism. While Chris is doing that, Bethany, is there an author that you really recommend that you're well into? It doesn't have to be someone famous. It could be anybody that you love reading.
Oh my God, there's so many that I love reading. It's God, it's really difficult to name one. Can I give you a few kind of debuts this year because go on. If you want one, I can give you my favourite ever author and my favourite ever book, if that's what you want.
You do whatever you want to do, Beth.
Oh, okay. Right. Well, okay. So my favourite ever author is Joe Haldeman, who wrote The Forever War, which is a sci-fi book. Because we talked a lot about horror, but I'm massively into sci-fi as well. It's like my kind of genre. And basically, long story short, I read his novel when I was 17, and I'd never read sci-fi. I didn't want to read sci-fi. There's a whole story behind why I had to read his book. Basically, there's nothing else to read in the whole of the Mallorcan Islands. So I was reading his book, and it changed my life because I just absolutely loved it. And it was my introduction to all things sci-fi, and it changed what I read, what I watched on TV. It changed who my friends were. It changed what I decided to do with my life. It just changed everything. So if I can recommend one book, it would be The Forever War by Joe Halpern, because he's just amazing. And I've got stories about how it's my dad's favourite book, and basically for my dad's 60th I got in touch with him to see if he'd sign a copy for me, because he's alive and well and living in America. And they say never meet your heroes, but he was such an amazing gentleman and just did the most wonderful inscription on my dad's book, and was just like, oh, it was just the most amazing experience. So yeah.
Wow.
That is a wonderful story. And Bethany was like, oh, Dad, I got you a book for your birthday, but it got lost in the post. Put it on my shelf.
No, well, he did happy, is my dad's name is Jeff, and he did happy 60th, Jeff. And then he drew a picture of himself and was like, I hope you've got more hair than me. And like, the irony is my dad has not got more hair than him. So it's like, it's a lovely thing to write, but you know.
That is awesome.
So what about debuts then, Bethany? Have you got like a debut author that you really think people should
There's
look
so
into?
many amazing debuts out this year. So many. At the moment I'm reading The Prank by Liv Matthews, which is a thriller, which is just absolutely excellent. The Waiting Rooms by Eve Smith. Pardon?
We had Liv on the show.
Oh, she's so lovely as well. She is.
Yeah,
and
she's great.
I'm just absolutely loving it. The Waiting Rooms by Eve Smith, which is like, again, it's kind of a dystopian future in which antibiotics stop working, and you think my novel is frightening. Good God in heaven. It was just brilliant. It stayed with me for so long. I've got a New Zealand author friend, Jacqueline Bublitz, and she's got the Before You Knew My Name, which is coming out in June. It's huge over in New Zealand and Australia already. It's like going to be absolutely massive. I'm just about to start The Wedding Night by Harriet Walker, which is her next one, and that's just, I loved her first novel, so there's that as well. And I'm also really looking forward to The Mix-Up by Holly McCulloch. So it's a wide genres and different authors, genres and everything else, but they're all amazing women, and they've all either got their second books out or their debuts out this year. So yeah, highly recommended all of them.
Bethany supporting the writing community. I love it.
Well, and also there are some other really great apocalypse and dystopian novels out at the moment. Kate, I'm so sorry. She's The Stranding. Let me just look. I've forgotten her surname because I speak to her all the time, so I don't have to.
We're on first name terms now.
Yeah. Well, you know,
just initials.
Kate Sawyer. The Stranding is out in about 2 weeks, and it's about a woman who survives the end of the world in the belly of a whale. So if that doesn't get you hooked and think that you need to read it,
I like what you did there. Oh
my God! I should tweet her afterwards and say, Kate, I think I've got your line you need to use in all your interviews. So yeah, there's like, you know, some amazing stuff at the moment, and I highly recommend reading it all.
That sounds fantastic. Thank you so much for the suggestions. We're going to have some questions from the community before we wrap the show up. And if you want to send them in right now, you're welcome to do so. And if you're watching for the first time or the 100th time, it doesn't matter. Send us the questions. We will appreciate every single one of them. Thank you very much. And we will be back very soon. So we have some questions that have come in, which is fantastic, and thank you very much. And the first one I can find is not Kath's, because we asked that before the show. This part of the show. Hello, Scott. Hello. Serious question. What one item would you bring to the apocalypse?
Oh, that is a very good question. And I have to say, I'm very different to my character, to my protagonist, in that I am a little bit of a survivalist. So I have an emergency backpack that is packed in at the back of my downstairs cupboard.
I love it.
So it's got kind of, you know, protein bars and batteries and torches and water bottles and things like that. And I also know where I would go at the end of the world. I've got
please tell us.
Oh,
You
well,
can't
no,
tell
because
us, mate. It'd be crowded.
I'm not going to, because my neighbour, bless him, Phil, listened to me talk about it another time, messaged me afterwards and like, oh, that's a really good idea. That's where I'm going to head as well. I was like,
No, you're like, you can't go there.
Oh, Phil, you completely ruined it now.
Yeah.
I've got to find somewhere else.
I can't have my place.
I think I'll be like, what happens in Apocalypse? I'll be like, oh, I got to phone Bethany. She knows where she's going.
You know, the really lovely thing is, like, Twitter, as we know, is such a great community. And I've had people who've read my book on Twitter who have, like, contacted me and said, oh, I've been thinking about what I would do and stuff. And we've got, like, a little commune now that's going to meet in Scotland, if anything happens.
In Scotland, where nothing survives.
we kind of decided, that we'll all kind of meet in Scotland and we'll kind of work it out. So, so that's nice. I've got my community. But the one thing I would take is a head torch. That's kind of, I think that's the thing, because it gets without the lights on, it's very dark. If you're stuck in a house like late at night, you don't want to be bumping into things. That would
Chris,
be.
What would you take, Chris?
I mean, Bethany's got me thinking now. I never even contemplated a head torch, to be honest.
Were you going to buy some beer? Because that's a good idea as well.
Possibly.
What was I listening to? Something the other day, and they were saying, what skills would you bring? And someone said, oh, I can brew beer. And I thought, that is a brilliant skill to take to the apocalypse.
Is anyone... Oh dear! I did the first person to squirt their drink out on camera. Then
no,
that is a really good.
It definitely isn't on this show.
That is a real skill. I'm gonna have to message my Scotland people and ask them whether someone's bringing that with them.
They will bring Buckfast. I can guarantee it.
Oh, too many memories of my youth.
Oh yes, worst hangover of my life. Chris, I think I'd take Bethany. I'd take a wind up. Or solar-powered battery charger, because you could plug your phones or whatever in, and then you could always listen out if something's going on.
Yes,
that's what I go for. Okay, great question, Halo, and we have another great question from Halo. Silly question: what is Hooli hiding in those flowers?
I mean, there's nothing in the flowers. I didn't even know there was flowers there, to be honest.
You've got some books there. What books were in front of the flowers, Chris?
Yeah, I've got some books. Should I be doing this? I've got
why not?
Beresford.
Nice.
And then I've got the Rabbit Factor.
I've heard about that. Have you started it yet?
Yeah, it's actually hilarious. If you're talking about black comedy, that is definitely
a great cover.
Get hold of. It is a great cover, and it's really funny. And then I've got Key Concepts of Crime Fiction, because I'm going to be doing an MA, and I'm studying crime in a different way.
There you go. Well, no dodgy flowers, Halo, but some books.
There is a finger in the bottom of the jar. No,
chocolate finger. Anya says, thank you for your question. Reverse centaur. What is that? What's that
Centaur.
word? That one. Or reverse mermaid. Which one is scarier?
Oof.
Ooh.
Is there one out the window again?
I'm gonna go with centaur. I'm not sure that I'm not sure that the idea of kind of like the switch of the man's bottom half and is it like a deer? It's something like a deer, isn't it? I'm not sure what it is on the top.
Isn't it like a bull?
Oh, is it a bull? Well, that's
even
even worse, isn't it? Can you imagine? On a Friday night, sat in the pub garden, comes trotting across.
I don't think. Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, a reverse one, it'd be a bull's top half, wouldn't it? And then the bottom half.
Which would be very top heavy.
And because I'm getting it slightly
unless you got a really
well
endowed man.
I'm getting slightly confused with the mermaid. I'm picturing it wearing coconut shell bikini, which is just even worse, isn't it? I mean, that's just not going to work.
I now have my idea for
what
Chris
would the
Hooley's
reverse
next fancy
of a
dress.
mermaid be? Would it be just a massive fish head and then
on some legs?
Legs?
Oh,
wouldn't it?
I don't know. Okay, let's move on.
Question.
It is.
Either way, both are frightening.
Yeah, Life says, following up on Halo's questions. Oh, good. I think this might be appropriate to ask. If you could have one thing fall out of the sky randomly, what would it be and why?
Gosh. Ooh.
We all looked outside just to make sure it wasn't happening.
I was looking for a window. They were closed.
It's a really, really dull answer, but a suitcase of money's always good, isn't it? Wouldn't it be good to just, I don't know, just keep it under the stairs, and just every now and again when you're like, ooh, it's a tight month, you can just kind of like be like, but we can still afford food, so we're all right. You know, I just feel it would be, especially kind of given the last year and a half that we've had and the situation that we've been in, and so many people, it's just been so precarious sometimes. I just think that some kind of security would be really nice. So it's dull. I'm sorry. I'm showing my adult side.
I think I'd like to have Harry Potter fall out the sky.
What would you do with him?
No, just fall out and hit the floor.
Scrape him off the floor.
Yeah. I'd sweep him along to the edge of a cliff, let him fall off that as well. Yeah.
Okay, there's some kind of underlying thing going on there, isn't it?
Definitely. I'm going to say a massive whale. A huge whale. Just for the controversy that would cause. Like, imagine that falling out of the sky and then people going, where the hell did this whale come from?
No. In today's day and age, especially in Britain, it would be like, right, whose whale is this? You can't leave that there. Okay.
Pretty Patel would be down there shouting at it to get back to where it belongs.
Yeah. Gave you a parking fine there, mate. Sorry.
This is a French whale. It shouldn't be here.
Linda says, getting the Brexit now, Chris. When you have...
That was a joke.
That's the real horror.
When you have a main character who doesn't pet the dog, we kind of mentioned this, but what are your tips for making them more sympathetic and relatable?
Do you know, I'm going to be really controversial here, and I'm going to say, why the fuck should you have to, quite frankly?
Thank you for that answer. It's brilliant.
Because I feel like, especially for my novel, I feel like no one... So, in I Am Legend, the main character is not at all sympathetic or relatable. He does some really terrible things, and at the end he does really terrible things, and the whole kind of concept behind the novel is actually that he is the kind of like alien in this world now, blah blah blah. And yet that's a brilliant novel, kind of on the road, in the road. He's not a sympathetic character. He looks after his son, but he's kind of like does what he has to do, and I feel there's this kind of concept sometimes that because you're female in a novel, you have to be sympathetic and you have to be relatable and you have to give people a reason to like you and a reason to read about you. And I say that is not true. The really interesting thing about getting that review is that I got that review and I'd been writing my second novel. And literally that day in my second novel, I had written a scene where my lead character in that novel gets the opportunity to pet a dog and she does not. And I'm like, oh my God, they're right. I write characters that don't pet the dog, that are not sympathetic. And I was going to take it out, and I thought, no, I'm leaving it in. It's part of who she is. So,
was it a conscious decision to make them not pet the dog?
Excuse me 1 second. I've just got to plug my computer in because it's about to die. I'm just going to turn the plug. I thought I had turned the plug on. Had to turn the plug on. So there you go.
That's a lovely chair.
No, it wasn't. No, it's part of her character journey that she doesn't pet the dog.
Maybe they need to do a compromise where she kills the dog but pets it afterwards.
or
that's a lot darker than I was thinking. But
she goes to touch the dog, to pet the dog, and goes, "Do you know what? Nah, fuck you." Just moves on. So at least she attempted to, and just there's a barrier.
I tease the audience. I tease them with the dog, and then I take the dog away.
Take it.
She goes to pet the dog. He gets run over. But no, I mean, I feel so with Last One at the Party. A lot of people say that at the beginning they don't like her and they don't root for her, and a lot of people have said I nearly gave up. And then they said, but then I grew to like her, and I saw more about her, and I saw her survival instincts, and I saw how she works through stuff. And by the end, I was really rooting for her. So I guess there's something in that says if you can make your characters interesting and compelling enough, then people will watch them and read about them anyway. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, for example, I'm watching, no spoilers, for God's sake, I'm watching Mayor of Easttown at the moment. Have you seen it? Oh my God, Kate Winslet. It's amazing. She's amazing. But again, it's brilliant because she is a really unsympathetic female character in that she's just who she is. And I love it because there's no expectation that she's going to, be beautiful. So, and lovely.
Here's a question, Bethany.
To take the dog, it bites her.
Yeah. Talking about strong female characters and all this, have you seen Stranger Things 2 that's out now? What did you think?
Sorry, Stranger Things 2, the series?
Yes, yeah. No, sorry, that's a complete lie. Quiet Place 2. I don't know where that came from.
I haven't seen it yet. No, no spoilers, no. But that's really interesting, a really interesting one as well, because obviously I think, no, I haven't seen it, but obviously if you're talking about her character, during the first one, her character was a lot, like he was the lead character, he was the main character, and it felt like she was kind of, not like just the wife, but her main job was to give birth.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like the second, it is
do it quietly, damn it.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Like all women should.
It's a fantastic movie, the second one, but they completely flip it, and she is the driving force behind that story. As a horror fan, I'm sure you'll love that, and I think it was Stephen King, maybe he said was a masterpiece of horror.
Nice. Okay.
So. Yeah,
I must definitely go and see it then. Did you see it in cinema, obviously?
I did, yes. It felt like this is the only film I've ever watched that genuinely felt like I watched a film for 10 minutes. It was that quick.
Wow.
So I can't,
was everyone quiet? That's what I've been really worried about. People weren't rustling.
No, it was great. I loved it. So, Bethany, before we do wrap this up, where can people find your book, and where can they go to get it, and where can they follow you on social media?
So I should be in bookshops. I'm in Waterstones definitely, and independent bookshops, and you can get me all over the internet as well. The lovely Bert's Books has got, I think he's still got signed copies, so if you go to Bert's Books, he's got them as well. And you can follow me. I think I'm just Beth Clift on Twitter, and I'm on Beth Writes stuff on Instagram. Do you know, these are the sort of things that you think after having done a few of these, I'd have written them down, wouldn't you? But no.
Yeah. Bethany in some countries, perhaps, she's not sure, but they're there.
Yes. So I know. So Germany in September. So that's really exciting.
Wow.
So Germany's actually coming out in September. I'm still kind of getting deals in, which is really exciting. I've got Turkey this week. So Turkey within the next 24 months. So don't get too excited, Turkey.
I can almost imagine you sat there like collecting Pokemon cards, like, oh, I've got Turkey now, I've got Germany.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you're up for it, in about 18 months' time, should we do this again when the next one's out? And then I'll have all mine on the back. It'll just be Germany, but they'll be Germany. So
you need one of those maps that you scratch off where you've been.
Oh my God, that'd be amazing. That's
like
such
you scratch
a good
off
idea.
where your book is.
Yeah.
That's
my
brilliant.
God. I'm just going to go and invent that and sell it to all the other authors.
Oh, all right. Didn't know about a business opportunity coming here. Anyway, Bethany, honestly, it's been an absolute joy to have you on the show, and I'm so happy that this happened and that you came on.
Thank you so much.
And shared your story. And I will be getting that book, and guarantee that it sounds fantastic and well up my street. And I'm so hopeful that this the option becomes something official, especially with Ridley Scott is unbelievable. So very excited.
Come on, Ridley, I've supported you.
Come on.
Time to return the favour.
You can do it, definitely. Very excited. So guys, please check out Bethany's book. Please support her and support our beer token book promotion today. Thank you to Bison Beers for supporting the show. And we're full of ideas and announcements that we haven't quite got to the point where we can announce them yet. Guys, please stick around. You will not be disappointed.
We can make an announcement before we go about who Friday's guest is. So Friday's guest is Jessica Brody, who wrote Save the Cat Writes a Novel. So if you're sat there at home and you're thinking, I've no idea how to structure this book, or if you've already read it, because I know it's very popular, Jessica Brody is coming on Friday to chat about that at a slightly later time of 9 till 10.
9 till 10, which will suit you American people that watch the show. So fantastic. And that means you might be able to have a little bit more of beer or gin, whatever you're taking, maybe. So guys, thank you so much. We genuinely appreciate you coming on and spending your time with us. And thank you, Bethany. Guys, we will see you on Friday. Have a good time. Please stay safe and look after yourselves.
Thank
Goodbye.
you. Bye.